It's time for a new starter. What happens with the man of steel running the ball to start for the Chiefs for the first time? And how do we see Kingsley Suamataia come back? It all comes down to a couple of jobs they have to do to get this game plan right and beat the team that's in front of them, the Atlanta Falcons. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Red Friday night, and that means it's me and Dan. This time, we are live. Nice to see you guys getting ready for game number 3 of this campaign towards that three-peat. This is Dan Harms. Whichever side he's on, I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to RGR Football. Make sure you like and sub and hit the bell. We're doing this one live because it's been kind of a crazy week, and it's kind of a crazy concept of where we're at, Dan. A lot going on, but sometimes you got to take a step back and just regroup, simplify, in my opinion, and get after it. So we're going to go through the game plan. We're going to take it a little bit slower pace tonight. I want to start with what you've been doing, not about the football field, because something looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, my wife comes back and I start getting the creative and the cooking juices flowing again. So tonight we did a little bit of something different, and it's my first time doing a smoked meatloaf. This was, again, my first time doing it. We got a nice little barbecue sauce with some honey and brown sugar that you based on there. Get it a nice. What I did was I cooked it at about 325 for the first hour, and then I cranked the heat up to 350 after I put this barbecue sauce on, let it caramelize a little bit, get nice and sticky, and then we got a nice little smoke ring there. You guys can see just a little one on the top. It's nice and juicy. Man, I tell you what, this was got to tweak some of the seasonings every now and then for the next one, but this was definitely worth the cook on it for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. It looks great. Now I'm really hungry, which is a good thing because I have dinner plans tonight with the wife. So
there you go.
Gonna have a good time. I got to experiment, and there's a lot coming up there. The Chiefs have to experiment too with how they're going to go about this. Job number 1, we're going to get to our game plan here in a minute, but a lot of changes. Job number 1 is getting a running back that you can trust. The Chiefs have decided to go with Carson Steele. It is not going to be Kareem Hunt on the field. He will be inactive this weekend per Andy Reid. And the other interesting thing is they've made a decision that for the first time in my memory, and I think Andy said he doesn't think he's done it before, they're going to rotate left tackles and get everybody a decent look at Matt Judon and the rest of that Atlanta front, get everybody a little bit of experience. So we have to take all those factors into what we're going to do with the game plan. Dan, what's job number 1 for this game against the Atlanta Falcons?
So it starts right there. It starts in the trenches. This is a Atlanta Falcons team that's very good on one side of the football in the trenches, the offensive line, and not very good on the other side. It's a very different dichotomy. The Atlanta Falcons offense, their Falcon ball carriers have been contacted behind the line of scrimmage on just 25.5% of designed rushes this season, which is the second lowest rate in the NFL. If you guys don't know, that means that they are getting pushed. They are creating running lanes for Bijan Robinson, who's already a very good running back, and he is in part doing so in getting missed tackles. 12 missed tackles forced this season, which is 29.3% missed tackle rate. That's not very good for opposing defenses. It's really good for them. So on one side of the football, the defensive line, this is a huge task for them, because one thing they're going to have to do is actually care about stopping the run, because that's going to feed into what the Falcons have to do, play action pass, because Kirk can't move around anymore. He's still not there. He was not looking like Aaron Rodgers did last night against the Patriots, where he was actually moving a bit better. Kirk is going to have some problems doing that. So you have to be able to stop the run and get Spags into those third and second and long situations where he can actually get after Kirk Cousins with the blitz, because that's how you're going to get home. You're going to get home that way. And then the opposite side, the Chiefs offensive line, they have to be able to run the football. The first 2 weeks of the season, the Falcons defense has contacted opposing rushers behind the line of scrimmage on just 32.1% of rushes, which is the 6th lowest rate in the NFL. You should be able to attack that, even with Carson Steele, a new face in the running back room. You're going to have him. You're going to have Samaje Perine. You're going to have Keontae Ingram. Those 3 guys, this offensive line, whoever's at left tackle, I believe Kingsley is going to start this game. And if he comes out hot, it will be hard for them to pull him. They just will. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. Andy will ride the hot hand if he comes up and he shows up and he plays. Get out there, hit some people in the mouth, and let's see a little bit of better offensive line play.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. It all comes together, and I agree with you. Like, it's about a gut feel for most of the time, and for Andy to say, "Hey, we're going to concentrate on shifting them," I think you're right. That once you're on a roll, I think they'll play the hot hand. I don't know how many reps it's going to be for who. For me, it's about who comes out there first and is on the starting lineup. Now, who that is going to be the bigger question. What we know at this point is there's going to be a rotation, quote unquote. I think in particular for Kingsley Suamataia, like getting out there and getting on the roll is just part of what the offense has to do. It has to continue the continuity. And for those of you, and we will take a question or two tonight, folks, but mostly this is the game plan, and we're just going to lay it all out there for you. But Ricky has a comment that a lot of people have, that Steele's a starting fullback and he's not a tailback. And that just isn't the case. He actually talked to the media, conversation with our buddy Matt Derrick this week. He said that he actually, at Ball State, had multiple games where he had carried the ball 30 plus times. Like, that's not playing in the NFL, but that tells you that he understands how to ball and he has the volume. He is a running back. He's just not a speed back, and that's okay. I do feel like more comfortable with him and P. Ryan as a backfield right now because they're a little bit more similar. It's not that thunder and lightning thing where sometimes you can get away from really maximizing each other's tendencies and skill set and making the most of it. So now it's going to be about come out, protect Mahomes by not only doing what you need to do in the trenches, as you said, but getting on there and getting consistent. They had 19 carries for Pacheco last week. They can do that with Carson Steele. He can carry the load. He's got to fix a couple of things. He even mentioned them this week, but it's about keeping the offense consistent. And that allows the play action and everything else that should open up Mahomes and be able to let him take the next step back towards what he usually is, which I don't think we've seen so much this season yet, but it's a work in progress. Obviously, new targets, new concepts, except for the one thing that I think comes down to the protection factor affecting the quarterback is slowing down that clock so that he doesn't feel he has to artificially speed himself up. And I don't think that's anybody's pressure, but inside of the ears of Patrick Mahomes when he feels like, okay, I just got to go make this happen. We're not to that point in the season yet. So by running the ball more consistently and continuing to stick with the game plan that was last week, I think they'll be able to get that done. But what do you think of where Mahomes is and what the version is we're seeing right now?
So I'm not entirely sure that he's there yet. It feels like he's also ramping up because there's been lots of miscommunications. There's been the one thing that they've been very good at, and Patrick Mahomes since 2018, I believe, leads the NFL in yards, touchdowns, yards per attempt against zone. This year, everyone except Rashee Rice has been pretty much ineffective against zone. And that's not always a wide receiver stat. That's also a quarterback not ripping the football when it's there. And right now it does feel like Patrick is a little gun shy with some of these windows. And I don't know whether it's Andy kind of creeping into him a little bit because Andy Reid loves to scheme players open, but we know that Patrick Mahomes can just rip it into some of these windows. And specifically, I'm just going to play this really quickly for you guys because this is what Jalen Hurts did on throws intermediately over the middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards against the Atlanta Falcons defense. Now, I'm not going to play the entire video, but he was 7 of 8 for 102 yards and a touchdown against the Falcons in the intermediate spots of the field. One thing I want you guys to notice here, he's got all the time in the world. The Falcons barely were able to get actual pressure on Jalen Hurts in this football game, and we know that the Falcons are not going to blitz Patrick Mahomes. So one, you should have a 4-man rush most of the time, a rush that isn't very deep. It's not very – Matthew Judon has not been as good as he has been in the past. He's got 1.5 sacks on the year, but he's not generating a ton of pressure. So they should be able to take this game plan, and Patrick should get more comfortable with this type of play, where with a defense that's going to play 75% zone after last year playing a ton of man coverage. They're going to play a lot of zone. They're going to drop back and they're going to force you to throw the football, matriculate it down the field, things that the Chiefs had done and had to do last year. They need to get back to that, and Patrick can start ripping it a little bit more into some of these windows.
I know, I completely agree with you, and I know that he wants to hit those big ends, right? Like, you can feel like, oh, I have the weapons to do it again. I got to go. Just take what's there for now and lull them down, because my last point is significant in that you have to play the game. you have to set it up because you have a pair of safeties against this passing game that understand what they're looking at.
Yeah.
They understand your deceptions. They've both played against you quite a bit. Between Bates and Simmons, this is the battle between Mahomes and the safeties, moving them off, setting them up, disguising what they're doing, and then taking the chance. So in the meantime, do exactly what you said. Take what's there, hit the underneaths, emphasize Kelce, because I don't think they have anybody that can really stick with Kelce unless they choose to go small. And if they go small, then I'm way comfortable with them just peppering it in there and letting Travis have his way physically with a smaller defender. But it's about the setup. Can't rush to the head of the line. You got to actually let it play out, because Simmons and Bates, especially Bates, coming off a stellar game last week, got to make sure that he is in the game plan in a way that takes him out of it. And I think that's crossing routes in particular. I think it's using the speed that you have to press him to the point where he either has to come up or he's taking lateral action, and then you have accompanying routes that are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'd love to see Travis Kelce do his quintessential over the middle of the field, but have Xavier Worthy breaking out over behind him. Like, that's what they need to be able to do. You can force Justin Simmons to have to say, come down on this route to Travis Kelce over the middle of the field in the intermediate part, and have a dig route from Xavier Worthy over the behind him, trying to create some of that motion. Because if Worthy is going behind Justin Simmons, who's crashing on a route, and decides, oh, I need to go back there and get back to Worthy because he's going to go over top, then Travis is open. They need to be able to work some of these layered route concepts and actually start letting Xavier Worthy run legitimate routes. Last week, it almost feels like they got bullied into letting him just be a dink and dunk gadget guy. Like, that's not what we need out of Xavier Worthy. With Hollywood Brown down for the season for the most part, they need to let him run routes. Do a little bit more than just goes, end arounds, and little gadgety stuff. Give him a couple of digs. Let him try to work the middle of the field. He's not bad against zone. Let him showcase it a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because once you get in his hand, especially if you combine the two things you've been talking about today, if the quarterback can rip it and he's able to attack the zones, his run after the catch, he can run away from guys out of zones. Obviously, the veterans are going to take pretty good angles. That's why they're veterans. But he still has the ability to get after that. And I'll give you guys one more bonus, which is so similar that we got to flip it, is I need to see Jaden Daniels come in and show me what he can do. They're going to use Bijan in a way. Sorry, did I say Jaden Daniels? Wrong, Jaden. Sorry, buddy. That's a whole different ballgame. Just finished a quarterback piece if you guys want to see it over on NFL 33. So you got to be able to step into this. I know it feels like they've been protecting him a little bit to this point, but being able to defend the running backs is going to be big, in my opinion, in this. Everybody's been asking me about Pitts all week, but I don't necessarily feel like defending the tight end is what you're doing with Pitts, because I think he's a big slot as much as he is anything else, especially when he's facing this personnel group. So those are the two guys that I would watch out for. Who's kind of an X factor in your mind?
Well, I think for the Atlanta Falcons, funny enough, it's this guy right here, Chris Lidstrom, their right guard, who is the best cut blocker in the NFL. You want to see what he just did again? Watch it again as he's going to take out the linebacker. See how much space this creates. Just watch really quickly. Number 63 gets the second level. Boom. Now look at this. Look at all of this space for Bijan Robinson to move in. There is so much there. This is what they do very, very well. And again, he's the best at it in the NFL, creating those chunk gains everywhere on the field. So for the Atlanta Falcons, it's him. And the Chiefs linebackers are going to have their hands full, not just because when you talk about Kyle Pitts, his average depth of target this year is 6.2 air yards. Like, he's not getting the ball down the field. So they are using him in more of that short intermediate area where the Chiefs have struggled with covering with linebackers and safeties. So you have to pay attention there. And then you got to keep your head on a swivel in the run game for guys like Chris Lindstrom. So I think the entire linebacker crew is my X factor for the Chiefs defense, because it's going to come down to them against the run and against defending Bijan Robinson again in the pass, and Kyle Pitts in the passing game as well. If you can find a way to make it difficult on those two players, it should not be difficult to win this football game, because Kirk Cousins dropping back is not going to outduel Patrick Mahomes in a primetime game when you don't have guys with legitimate separating ability, even though Darnell Mooney's playing much better than I expected him to.
But you can accept some of that, right? You can absorb some Mooney plays as long as you
Absolutely,
take care of business, right? And I think that that's what it is. This is not going to be, in my opinion, like a massive turnaround, blowout kind of game.
Yeah,
This
no.
is a step towards what they're going to be at the end of the season. So break it down. How do you see this game going? What's your prediction?
So first of all, I think this is going to be a big Travis Kelce game. I know that you're going to see probably Justin Simmons breaking on him, but the reason that the offense is not clicking all the time is because Travis has been taken out of these games and he's having some miscommunication issues. Andy Reid said earlier this week that the reason that interception was thrown against the Bengals is because there was a miscommunication between between Mahomes and Kelce. That has to end. I think they're going to get on the same page in this football game, and they're going to have to be able to get him some yards. If you can take some of the load off of Rashee Rice, because right now that's basically what it is in the passing game. He is the load. He can't do everything himself. Like just like Travis last year couldn't do everything himself. They got to be able to start doing that. So I think this is going to be a big Travis Kelce game. I do think the Chiefs are going to win this football game. And back-to-back Kirk Cousins wins and primetime is not exactly on everyone's bingo card because he's not a very good primetime quarterback. And I just think at the end of the day, they're going to find themselves in too many third and longs every now and then, and Spags is just going to tee off. So I do believe this game comes down to the Chiefs pulling away in the fourth quarter. It probably is a little closer than everyone wants it to be, but it's not going to look the same at the end. I think the Chiefs win, 27-17 going away.
Okay. I dig that. Jamie, glad you made it, and I hope you're having a good one. I'm going to have beers here later with the wife, so we're going to hold off on that. But cheers to you guys and everyone else. If you want any of the gear, make sure you get into the store. It's linked down below for any of the hats we're wearing or any of the special Dynasty gear that's still available because, yes, we're still in a Dynasty mode here, everyone.
Oh yeah.
It's good stuff. And we're going to have more here soon because, there's a couple of things that I like to say a little bit too often that Patrick is, really akin to. So we're going to go with that as well. I agree with you about Kelce, and I hope that that's the way, but I want it to not have to be run through him first. And I want it to be, let's continue to present balance. So what I really liked about last week, it's really unfortunate about Pacheco, and I feel for him. They are going to miss his energy. But I do feel they can't go back to like the game calls where it was 22 and 25% run. It doesn't have to be 46% again, but it needs to still be a major part of it. You got to have that balance. And I think that will continue as long as they are thinking long-term, because this offense is going to be better, especially without Hollywood, like you said, to get through the regular season. And then they can kind of drift however they want because of what they do. So I'm looking for a little bit stronger attitude. I'm looking for this to be a bit of a breakout. While Lindstrom is excellent in the run game, he does give up a lot of pressure. And I do think there's ways, especially with Spags, to get creative. If Hicks is on the field in particular, I'm dying to see Jaden Hicks. Okay. That's the truth. Bottom line. But there's plenty of pressures you can dial up with Leo, with Hicks if he's out there, with any of the DBs, because they all run well. And I know everyone's like, well, you can't abandon Pitts and you can't abandon London. Okay, fair enough. Neither of them is a game breaker type like Chase. Okay. Trent McDuffie's going to be able to take somebody away every single play. The quote he had this week about Chase and just understanding that if you just deny him the ball, you're going to get in his head and he's going to break himself down. Not everybody's that fragile, but it can be done to everybody in this league. Denial frustrates receivers. I don't care where they line up. That is the truth of it. So there's going to be, I think, a little bit back and forth, but I do think the defense starts to come around between the pressure and the denials. I think that they actually hold them a little bit lighter. I think this is going to be a 14-point output for the Falcons, and the Chiefs just kind of round it out at 28 and just say, okay, we're out of here. Let's go home and try to get healthy. The big thing, let's make sure nobody else gets hurt. That's where we're at today, folks. Nice to see you, Holly. Nice to see everybody. I tried to put up all the comments that I could. I think we pretty much answered all your questions. So just wanted to say hi. Anonymous Mango, you just had one that I had just seen, and it's just about the prognostication about when Hollywood might return. I don't know that that's legit or if they're just putting it out there. Got a ways before the trade deadline, so I think we have a chance to maybe see that happen, maybe not. We're going to find out, but that's where I'm at. Hope you guys are ready for a good weekend. Dan, you cooking anything up here between now and kickoff?
Well, I think this weekend we're going to be going out to dinner. I know I'm going to be making some chicken parm next week, some ribs next week. So I've got some things coming up, but this weekend we're going to keep it pretty simple. Get some wings on Sunday before the game, and just kind of chill out. I've been cooking a lot, and I got to get back in the mode since the wife is back. I gotta let my body reacclimate to cooking all the time as much as I have been.
She's your juice, isn't she? That makes a lot of sense.
It helps.
You know,
it helps.
Yeah, get back into it. Everybody give Gary a hand. He's one of our mods and always around helping us out. Appreciate you, Gary. I'm looking forward to seeing whatever you're ingesting. So there's a lot going on there. Folks, I'm making plans for GABF. If you're a beer fan, make sure you check out RGR Craft as well. A lot going on there. And I hope that you guys are ready. This is going to be a fun game. I know it's late. We will be live post-game.
Yes.
I'm going to go straight to Matt Derrick post-game on the Locked On Chiefs, and we'll follow that up right after. We'll try to get Dad to bed on a decent time, because he's an early riser, not as much as me.
This is part of the job, so we're all good,
right? And Miss Holly, thank you. Nice to see you, and thanks for the
Thank you, Holly.
You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday night, and we'll be back with you post-game. Maybe even give you a little clip or something here in the weekend. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll talk to you next time.